You are now listening to Shotgun Sports USA. I'm your host, Justin Barker, and I talk to shotgun shooters from all disciplines, championship-winning coaches, gun clubs, world-class target setters, vendors, and industry-leading companies that make it all possible. If you're into clay target sports, you are at the right place for insider information from some of the best in the world every single week. Check us out on shotgunsportsusa.com and visit us on Facebook and Instagram. Shotgun Sports USA is powered by Winchester, the American legend. This podcast is also brought to you by Rick Hemingway's Promatic Trap Sales, Ultimate Shooting Accessories, Sound Gear, Comp and Choke, and Clay Shooter Supply. We are now on the Apple App Store, which is big news for us, and we're coming to the Play Store shortly. Simply type in Shotgun Sports USA and download the app to your phone. You can listen to every episode, get alerts when new episodes come out, contact us, and a lot more. Just another way we're making it easy for you to listen to your favorite shooters and topics. This week I have two national champions on talking about how not to ruin your reputation in the sport by doing the wrong things. This will be a very interesting topic of conversation you will not want to miss. Welcome to the show, Joe Fanizzi and Zach Kienbaum. I have Zach Kienbaum and Joe Fanizzi on the show with me, and we're going to cover a pretty interesting topic that hasn't been talked about on a podcast. And as you know, I like to cover topics and have people on that can add something to the sport or bring valuable, useful, and accurate information to the listeners of Shotgun Sports. What's up, guys?
How's it going, Justin?
How you doing, Mr. Barker? Thanks for having us on tonight. Appreciate it.
Zach, what have you been up to in the off season?
Just a lot of teaching. Been home most of the time. We do my annual trip out to California. Did some pigeon hunting in Arizona around Thanksgiving. Other than that, just been kind of home in Savannah teaching. I was lucky enough to this past weekend we went duck hunting. Justin and I and Jeremy. We went to Arkansas when we were duck hunting, and that's kind of where we came up with the topic of this podcast.
Yeah, we're sitting at a duck blind, and I don't know, what was it, 18 or 20 degrees, and trying to keep ourselves warm, and we started talking about different topics for the podcast, and we come up with this, and I think it's a good one, and we included Joe on it, and I think Joe will be a good addition to this conversation. Speaking of Joe, what have you been doing?
So after the Nationals, I came back here to school at Texas A&M and just focused on finishing my first semester of college, and really enjoyed that. And took a little break. It's good to take a little break after a long season of shooting to kind of rejuvenate yourself. And when Christmas break came around, went back home to Florida, where I was spent my whole childhood, born and raised, and went back to Okeechobee. Spent a lot of time there, seeing family and old friends from high school, middle school, and just catching up and having a good time back home in Florida before it was time to come back out to Texas. I also went to the Dallas Safari Club show, which was a really cool experience with my family and some of my parents' friends. And, we had a good time out at the DSC, saw some good folks from our industry. And after that, it was time to get back here to College Station and start up college again. And, just been shooting a little bit, preparing for the upcoming season. And, just really excited to get things rolling.
Joe, you got to see something. This is kind of off topic a little bit, but you got to see A&M beat Alabama.
I dang sure did. It was a pretty special experience, without a doubt. The 12th man was rocking there at Kyle Field, and I'm a big sports fan. I love college football the most, and it was just, growing up my whole life, I'd always see on TV games like the Kick Six, the Iron Bowl, or anything like that, to where you're watching from home and you wonder to yourself, man, what would it be like to be there and be experiencing that atmosphere? And I was really blessed to have the opportunity in my first college football season as a student here at the university to be a part of something like that. It was a historic night and something we'll be talking about forever. But we stormed the field, and I was on the field and got to see the team and the coaches and the players all there at Kyle Field, and it was just a really, really neat opportunity to have, and I was just blessed to be there, which was really, really awesome.
Yeah, it was neat to see. The topic of this episode is don't ruin your reputation for a score. And what I mean by that is don't ruin your future in the sport because you felt you needed to take a target that you really didn't earn just to make your score better or to capture a win of a tournament. This does nothing for the sport, nothing for you, your competitors, or even gun clubs. This is a real issue within our sport, but it seems like it stays quiet for the most part within the community. Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, first of all, our sport's kind of interesting compared to other sports or even other shotgun sports in that we have so many stations. We need so many referees that these clubs, especially in today's climate, political, whatever, job-wise, to go and get 40, 50, 60, 100 people to work for 3 or 4 days is darn near impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something that I hold against the clubs. It's just what it is. That we do have kids or people that are disinterested or very, very new, never been around the sport, refereeing our largest, most important events. And I don't hold the clubs accountable for that. I think it's a matter of, and this is what we were talking about in the duck line, that I think as shooters, we have to hold ourselves and our other competitors accountable. Not accountable, but I think we need to play the game with integrity and just play the game the right way.
I agree. But say a group of guys goes out during this tournament and this last-minute trapper, so to speak, calls a bird dead, and it's not dead. What are they supposed to do? Take it?
Yeah, in my own personal experience, first of all, it's crazy when I hear all these stories at these shoots and things happen because none of these scenarios arise around me or my squad mates because, first of all, if someone calls a dead target on myself and I don't think I hit it, the first thing I'm going to do is question the trapper. I'm going to say, "Are you sure? Did you see? What did you see?" And it all depends. How I go about it is how they react to that. What do they say? If they're real positive right away and they're like, "No, saw a piece, backside, whatever, front side," I'll kind of let it go. If they give me a definitive answer, if they say, "Oh, I thought you hit that," I'm going to tell them no. I've watched all the people that I regularly shoot with give back targets all the time. I've seen Desi do it. I've seen Anthony and Corey do it over the years, lots of times. Joe and other people that I shoot with. It's a non-issue. But I've also seen people that I don't normally shoot with or other squads that don't say anything, and it does bother me.
So in this situation, if they turn to look at the trapper and ask if I hit it, and the trapper answers like you said they shouldn't, which is, well, I thought you hit it, what's the next step?
I think if the shooter knows they didn't hit the target, they need to tell the trapper they did not hit the target.
Well, why would someone not say that? Simply because they want the target?
Yeah, they want the score. Everyone wants they want a bigger number. What do you think, Joe?
So, I mean, obviously everyone wants to win. You will never meet someone who doesn't enjoy winning. And if you do, stay away from them because something is seriously wrong with that person. Okay. But what I'm saying is, everybody's willing to do whatever it takes um, to perform well because that's why we do it. We love to shoot. Um, but when I say willing to do whatever it takes, I don't think people need to cross the line to go into boundaries that don't make the playing field even because then, what is the point of competition? And what I'm saying by that is if you ever feel that you have to do something that gives you an unfair advantage, then I don't think you deserve it in the first place. And, winning is the most rewarding and satisfying feeling in the world. And what makes that particular feeling so good is that in the moment, you bested everyone competing and you earned it. That's what makes it so special. It's a true testament to your passion for the sport, your hard work, dedication, and investments, whether it be time, money, or your efforts. Now, by not playing the game fair, you're trying to live out a fantasy that isn't not only true, but you're also lying to your own self. And that alone is a reason to never even consider or have to think twice about it. But I think just in general, we all want to win, and some people just really, really want to do well, and you can't blame them for that. But it's just, where do you know where the line is? You can't be giving yourself an unfair advantage that the people you're shooting amongst and against, don't have for themselves. And there's many different forms and styles of it. If you want to call it quote unquote cheating, I mean, there could be 10 different categories of how it could be done, but I think that's the main reason on why people do it.
What you said, there's several different ways. What's a couple? Give me a couple examples of what you consider to be taking advantage of the situation.
When a lot of people hear the term cheating, I think folks just think of someone taking a scorecard and changing the score, but it's not just that, like taking a pencil or pen and changing the score sheet itself, or trying to forge a false score. It could be anything from playing bias in your own favor. You got to keep the playing field even. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times I've seen someone shooting and a no bird will come out of the trap. It's obviously a no bird. They shoot at it and they break it, and then the other target comes, they shoot the other target and they break it. So they break both targets. And if the referee or the trapper doesn't say anything, a lot of times the shooter will just go on with it, even though they know well that it's a no bird. But because they hit it, they just want to go ahead and take it, right? Now, I guarantee you that same person that's in the box, if it's a no bird and they shoot at the no bird and they miss it, then it's different. They'll stop and say, oh, that was a no bird because they shot at it and missed it. That could be an example. It could be anything from, someone shooting and they feel that they missed a target and they know they missed a target. And, it might be the last pair of a really tough station. They end up, missing one on their last pair. They're upset. They come storming out of the station angry. They throw their shells in the bin. They let out some foul language, perhaps some vulgar remarks, and they are obviously upset, and they're showing actions that they're upset because they missed, and they know they missed. But then the trapper will say, dead pair, and then they'll perk up and act like everything is fine and kind of act surprised, like, oh, I hit that? I hit that? Okay, thank you, and then just walk off. But, obviously I think they wouldn't have gotten upset and shown that type of attitude if they thought they had hit the target. So it could be anything like that. It could be, you have a really good round going and your squad mates are a bunch of your buddies and you miss and they call target for you, say, oh, I actually think, my friend hit that. You never know. I mean, now it's kind of a sticky situation, because if you genuinely think you broke the target, that's a different story in itself. If everyone on the squad is like, they definitely hit it, you broke it, then at that point, I think it's fair to stand up for yourself. I'm not saying that if you chip a target and, you hit it, you think you hit it, everyone on the squad saw you hit it, but the referee says loss, that you should take a loss. You see what I'm saying? It's just a fine line of being able to hold yourself accountable. That's what I think.
So how do you get everyone to be that way? That's the next big hurdle we have to jump.
A podcast like this, just get the conversation going. There's been similar conversations on some of the Facebook groups, stuff like that can help. But I think I thought it would be important to talk about this. I mean, I can talk about this on every podcast, but I think once, I mean, if a kid can hear, I want certain kids to hear, not certain kids, I want like all kids to hear this. Anyone competitive coming up through the game, I don't care what class you're in. I think there's more issue. I see more of it going on in the lower classes than necessarily the top shooters, although it has happened at the top. But I think it happens all throughout the tournament.
And it benefits them none to do it. I mean, if you're in C class and you take 4 birds, at the end of the day, what is that going to do for you? Nothing but ruin your reputation.
Here's what I have to say regarding that. Just in general, outside of shooting, this is something bigger than shooting. This can apply to all aspects of life. But integrity is a word that I really like, because integrity can tell you a lot about a person's character and their sportsmanship. I think people can find themselves at a battle with their conscience when they know something is wrong and not moral, but for some reason they go ahead and do it anyway. And that is something that I personally believe leaves a question mark on our game as a whole and leaves shooters wondering. And like Zach just said earlier, it applies to everyone. We're not talking about just a select group of people at all. I mean, this is something that has been going on, is going on, and probably will go on, but you want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. And I know this is a game with a lot of really good people. And, whether you're competing for B class or D or even Hunter, I think everyone should approach it the same. And it has to be you that holds yourself accountable. I've said this many times before. I put it into action myself, and I will continue to live out the rest of my career this way. And it's what I'm about to say. It's, I would rather lose a tournament. It doesn't matter if it's the World Championship, Nationals, U.S. Open, any of them. I'd rather lose fairly and, in a way, take targets I didn't hit and win by 1 or 2, or give myself an unfair advantage that everyone else didn't get. And I would hope that most people would do the same, and I truly believe that most people would. Our game is filled, like I said before, with lots and lots of great people. But for me, I could never accept a victory that way. I wouldn't be able to sleep. Seriously, but since day one, it's always been that way. Maybe it's, how my parents raised me or how I grew up. I don't know. But, it definitely is something that I feel like is out there. And, like you guys were talking when you first started coming up with the idea of this, it's something on a lot of people's minds. And we really don't have a correct answer on how to address it. I think the only right way is, people stepping up and realizing what makes the competition the competition. And, we shoot because we love it. And whoever ends up performing the best has earned it and is most deserving that day. And I think at the end of the day, we are the ones that have to hold our own selves accountable. Of course, there's many ways you can approach a situation like this, but it has to be us. And the easy part is we have a lot of good people that shoot this game. And I know we hold ourselves accountable, each other accountable, and we just do it because we love it,
Joe, I think I'm correct when I say this, but didn't you? I don't know what tournament this was at. You were shooting the course, and I know the trapper told you had hit birds that you didn't. You gave the birds back, and then you ended up losing the tournament by about that number of birds. Am I right?
That's correct. And it's happened. It's happened a couple times, and certain people, would perhaps approach me that were on the B squad, maybe watching me shoot, or were on my squad, or people that I knew. And they're like, come on, man, why don't you take that? You know how it is. Sometimes you hear a big saying in our game that I've heard at least a couple of years that I've been shooting is, well, you got to take them because every now and again they're going to take them from you. You know what I mean? Or sometimes they'll take them, sometimes they'll give them, and all that. But, it's just kind of like what I said before. That's just not how I operate. That's not what I believe in. And, it's bigger than just shooting itself. And I feel like there's certain people in life that would be okay, in a situation like that, perhaps taking advantage of a bonus opportunity or whatever you want to call it. But I would have felt 10 times worse if I had taken those birds and I ended up winning the tournament when the deserving champion, bested all of us and was really the one who deserved it. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. And I told you this story a little while ago, Justin. I don't know if you remember. This one might be different, but believe it or not, I used to play sports. I used to play football, baseball, basketball a little bit, and I was playing football a handful of years back, back in middle school, like Pop Warner days, back in my hometown of Okeechobee. And there's this one game where I was playing defense, and I went to go tackle, the quarterback handed the ball off to the running back. He broke outside. I chased this kid down, and I tackled him, and I face masked him. Clear as day. I went up to tackle the kid. My right hand went around his face mask, pulled his head back, and, I tackled him. And, the referee ran right up to us, didn't call anything. And just spotted the ball and they went to, set up for the next play. And I obviously face masked them, but they didn't call anything. And, the kid on the other team was like, face mask, face mask. And the ref's like, no, it didn't call anything. And I literally just stood up right there in the middle of the field. True story. I paused the game and, I said, no, ref. I said, I face masked them. Like, I promise, I face masked them. And, I just knew that's what was right. And, my coaches were giving me an earful, like, come on, man, why would you say that? Like, you're hurting our own team and all. They weren't going to call it. Why are you going to call a penalty on your own self? And I was like, just threw my hands in the air. I was like, what do you want me to do? I face masked the kid. And at the end of the day, like I said, only you can hold yourself accountable, and that is the definition of integrity. It's doing what's right when people aren't watching. And I knew I committed a penalty, face masked the kid. I had to be penalized for it. The team had to be penalized for it, and they weren't going to call it because they didn't see it. It's just like, what if you're shooting and you obviously missed the target, trapper didn't see it the way that it really happened, and then you just go on with it. It's got to be you knowing what's right and moral. And at the end of the day, I think you'll truly feel better about yourself and the outcome going forward.
I agree. I agree 100%. Obviously I've chosen this as a profession. I've done it literally my whole life, and one shoot, one win isn't going to change anything. Isn't going to change my life, and I don't ever want someone to look at that scoreboard and question whether that's really the score I shot. And I can honestly say that no one can, because I do try to play the game fairly for everybody.
Zach, I remember seeing a video of you on Instagram of, I think you were at this might have been the Gator Cup, and you were final station. Give me that story.
That's the final station to win the Gator Cup last year, 2021.
Okay.
I think it was the last pair. I call pull, and a no bird comes out across kind of a chandelle away, and it came like 10 more feet right, broken. I kill it, and I kill the second bird, and I don't even turn around. I just start kind of yelling, not yelling, but loud enough for the ref to hear me. I go, no bird, no bird, no bird, no bird. And I just load my gun, keep my eyes forward, and call pull again. And then I actually did get a no bird the next time. The bird never came out. Call pull again, kill the pair to win the tournament. And it never even crossed my mind to not do that. I happened to be I was shooting in a squad with 4 kids, literally 4 kids. The oldest one was 15 years old. And obviously they look up to me as a shooter, and if I can do the right thing in front of them, I think they're going to do the same in the future. But it never crossed my mind to not call no bird.
That kind of goes back to the trapper. The trapper didn't say anything to you. You had to call the no bird.
I didn't give them time to say anything. To be honest with you, I just called it out myself.
I have seen it to where a trapper will call a dead bird because they saw the wad. So how do we get that understanding to the trappers that the wad is different from the bird?
I'm not so sure that you're going to get them to understand that. I think you have really green trappers, referees at every event we go to. I've shot the World English in San Antonio on Saturday morning at 8 a.m., pull up to the station, and the trapper tell us, I've never done this before. Can you help me and show me what I need to do? That's at a world championship. What do you think's happening at every other shoot around the country? The club, again, like I said earlier, I don't necessarily think, I don't hold this all on the clubs, but I'm sure they have their training sessions, weeks out, week before. They want to train all these people. But sure enough, I mean, Joe could probably attest to this. His family's run a club his whole life, but there's probably some trappers that don't show. And then you have to scramble and get some new ones right at the last moment. And they didn't go through the training.
That's right.
You get 5 minutes of training before the event even starts.
What kind of effect does that have on scores?
I think you see the same things that we've been talking about. Whether it's a shooter, saying, badgering trappers, when they miss, just arguing every loss, which happens. That's not the only type of cheating. I mean, it's shooting the no bird. It's just bending gray areas or bending rules to their advantage.
And I think it's people taking advantage of ignorance when they see it. When someone doesn't know any better. I'll say I think the main issue occurs, when it comes to this situation or scenario, mainly in specifically sporting clays. Zach can also attest to this, and a lot of other shooters who travel around and shoot different events. I would say feed task in itself isn't a huge problem with things like this because a lot of the feed task referees are certified. They go through a course. A lot of the times we see the same refs that have experience, know the rule book cover to cover, and they're not going to give anything up. I'm not going to say any by name, but there's a handful of refs that we see. It doesn't matter if you're out in the shooting the Western Regional in the middle of the desert out in Arizona or Nevada, or you're shooting the Northeast Regional up in, New Jersey or Maryland or down in the Southeast. A lot of times it's the same refs that are experienced. They know the rules. They're going to make sure everyone plays by the rules. And also, for the most part, there's less referees in feed task. A lot of the times we shoot what's known as like old style feed task, where it's not as spread out with as many pegs on average. Like Zach was saying, it's hard when you have 2 or 3 sporting clay courses to run at an event. And, a lot of courses have anywhere from 14 to possibly 17 stations. You know what I'm saying? So every single one of those stations is going to need someone to ref. And so I think that's the problem. And I think Zach's exactly right. It's not necessarily the club's fault. It's just a tough scenario that we all get put in.
How would you stop a regular squad mate of yours from taking a target, which in most people's eyes would be a whole lot harder to do?
So here's what I have to say. I'm sure Zach has something good to say, but nobody wants to be the bad guy, right? Nobody wants to. I mean, we've probably all of us, everyone listening right now, everybody's been in a similar situation like that. And really nobody wants to be the bad guy because you're afraid, well, what if, my friend judges me or gets upset? As hard as this is, at the end of the day, you have to realize if you do what's right and what's moral and what is correct, and everyone knows what's correct, and your friend seriously gets upset at you over that or holds a grudge or jeopardizes your friendship over you just doing what's right at a competition, maybe that's somebody you don't want to be a friend with. As hard as that is to say, you know what I mean? Maybe that's not someone you want to call a friend if they're willing to seriously get mad at you. But it's still really hard to do, and you have to accept that, but it just causes just an awkward, little scenario to where someone in front of you misses, they call a dead pair, everybody goes on like nothing happened, and then you're looking around and making eye contact with the squad mates, and you're pointing, you're nodding your head, he did, no, he didn't hit that. Did she hit that? I don't know, maybe she did. It's just a hard situation, but it's back to we got to do what we can to hold our own selves accountable, and then collectively as an effort, just do what's right. I think it's when you know what's right, it's right. When you maybe don't see something or you make a mistake or there's a scenario that you don't know, then, okay, then you try to look and make sure everybody's paying attention and see if you can come to a collective decision. But if you willingly know something's wrong and you still go ahead and do it, that's foul and it leaves a sour taste in people's mouth. And you don't want to tarnish your reputation anyway. I've said this on a prior podcast. At the end of the day, more than a trophy on the wall or a medal around your neck, I don't want people to remember me as necessarily a good shooter, but when my name gets brought up, say that's a good person. He's a good guy. He's an honorable person. He's got good sportsmanship. And I'm guarantee you, everybody that's listening right now, including y'all two, feel the same exact way.
I've caught myself doing this. I'll finish shooting, set my gun in the gun rack, and my phone will buzz in my pocket, and I'll pull it out and look at it. I'm not paying attention to all the targets. Is that something? Should I not be doing? Should I be paying attention to everyone's targets?
I would. I'm definitely guilty. Once I've shot, a lot of times I'll go back to the buggy and put my gun away and do whatever. But I'm definitely watching for the person in front of me or in front of them. I think it's just important to have kind of a system in your squad, where there always is someone there watching. either way, whichever way it goes. But do you need to watch every shooter in your squad? I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have the energy for it, go for it.
Yeah. How can this affect gun clubs? Say there's a tournament going on, a guy takes a couple of targets, the gun club later finds out about it, and they really don't address it because it's over and done with. Do you think it could give the gun club a bad reputation by not doing anything about something like this?
I think it can if they don't do anything. And then the flip side of that, I can think of a couple gun clubs that have kind of, done the investigation and actually caught people cheating and acted on that, whatever they had to do, whether they're disqualifying or whatever, talking to the NSCA, turning it in. And yeah, I mean, that puts the gun clubs kind of putting their neck out doing it. And I kind of applaud the clubs that are willing to do it. I think all clubs need to do it. But like the whole topic, I mean, I think all shooters need to hold themselves and their friends and the people around them accountable.
Zach, there's different ways that shooters can, in their own way, manipulate the system. And I mean, while they're in there shooting, as far as the trapper's concerned, or the squad even is concerned, what ways can a shooter take advantage of the system?
Well, I think there's the obvious, just you hear of shooters questioning every lost bird and arguing that they hit the bird. There's them not kind of taking advantage of the trapper in a sense that the trapper doesn't know all the rules and shooting at no birds, not questioning the trapper when they call a bird dead when it's not dead. There's some elaborate groups out there that I hear about of just they don't necessarily question the lost bird, but they will, anytime a miss happens, they will introduce doubt to the trapper. They will question whether that was a good bird or not.
I was going to say, how do you introduce doubt?
I think as soon as they miss, someone, parent, other person on the squad, whatever, they will ask if was that a good bird. They will just say that they think it was off a little bit, and some of these kid trappers or inexperienced trappers will say, "Oh, do it over again." Then, okay, taking over a do-over. I mean, that's as bad as any of the other ways. What do you think, Joe?
You're not wrong with any of the different forms of it we've brought up tonight. Are existing things. It happens. People might want to deny it that it's happening, but I'm sure at some point somewhere in the United States, at some tournament, something has taken place. But like I said, it might not be as bad as some people make it out to be. It may be worse than people think it is. Just in general, I think it's back to holding ourselves accountable as individuals. And that's the only proper way to start and feel right about it and not feel like you're a bad guy. And, I know for myself, if I'm talking about me as a competitor and as an individual or as a shooter, sometimes it's hard when you see something that is wrong. A lot of times I might not right away say something because I'm trying to focus on doing the best that I can too. At the end of the day, we're shooting out there and we're worrying about doing everything the best that we can for our own self. And, what if there's a big discrepancy and then there's an argument and then the head referee has to come or, the head course manager, and then people have to talk it over. Then there's a backup. There's just so many different things. There's not a set amount of how these things can happen. I mean, there's a million different things. It's the whole gray area of it all. But, I think that we have a good group of people in our sport, and I doubt that it happens more than it doesn't, if that makes any sense.
I don't think there's a real fix for it other than the people shooting need to take action and stand up for when they see something that's wrong. And for the people doing it, it will be found out about eventually, maybe not right then, but it will be found out about. And then that's when it becomes a problem for you and your reputation.
The extra target or the extra event or title or whatever drove you to feel that it was necessary to make an act towards rising your score unlawfully is not worth your reputation as a person, or not just as a shooter. Because like I said before, this isn't just about shooting. It's about who we are, our image, our reputation, and just possessing good character, because that's all we have at the end of the day. When someone brings our name up, we just want to be known as a good person, not as, if someone brings so-and-so's name up 5 or 10 years down the road, the first thing that pops in my head is, oh yeah, he won A-class 5-stand champion at this tournament. No, that's not what I'm going to think about. I'm going to think about, he's a good guy. He's a helpful person. He's done a lot for our sport. He's a good sportsman. He cares about everybody else. Yeah. That's what people will remember. So the extra word here and there that people may secretly fight for, or sneakily try to take advantage of a situation, I don't think it's worth it to them, and it's not fair that they jeopardize their own reputation over something like that.
I think Rick's U.S. Open this year is a good start for the top people, at least. Random squatting. I don't know how random squatting would affect our game. There might be some people that they want to shoot with their family members or their friends that they're traveling with. That is part of the fun of going to some of these events for a lot of people. But I do commend Rick and this year's U.S. Open on doing that. I think going to a top rotation random squatted at nationals is going to happen here shortly. There's more than that. There's more reasons to do that than just this topic of sportsmanship, but obviously marketing, getting people to come watch, adding some sense to the tournament it's gonna help in that regard as well.
So the U.S. Open random squatting for the top guys, they're going to put y'all in a random squad. Whoever you end up with, are you shooting with people of your caliber, or are you going to be shooting with just whoever?
No. I believe it's like the top 30 or 40 guys. I don't know how they came up with the criteria, but it's random squatted, those top 30, 40 guys.
Rick always has good ideas, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, definitely. He's always thinking of something new, whether it's in all aspects of his tournaments, for sure.
Yeah.
He's brilliant, without a doubt. Always coming up with great new things for the sport. Great person, too.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate your time. We talked about a touchy subject tonight, and maybe that some of the people listening will understand where we're coming from and know how to recognize it next time they see somebody doing something like this, if they do.
If 3, 5, 10 people hear this and they kind of think about it next time they're shooting, and it changes how they react in certain instances, I think that's great. Like I said earlier, if some kids listen and just learn a little more about how to play the game and do everything the right way, I think they'll come out further ahead in the future.
Yep, I agree.
Thanks for having us on, Mr. Justin. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Joe, I know you're at college and you got better things to do than sit around here talking on a podcast, don't you?
Anything shooting related always has my interest.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on, and I'll see you down at Jack Link's, both of you. So it's only a couple weeks away. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, thanks, Justin.
All right, see y'all.
See you there.